Simon Taylor. Welcome to the heart of it. This show is a Podfirst production. Podfirst specialise in cinematic, high-quality video media production and podcasts, including projects such as viral social media content for business owners and entrepreneurs, internal communications for organisations, and charity incentives like Homeless FC. Managing and directing the project from start to finish. So whether it's pre- and post-production, branding, guest selection and booking, set design, social media strategy, marketing and management, the list continues. Whether you're a business owner or an organisation, Podfirst is here to help you to achieve your objectives and your vision. If any of this sounds like you, then you can visit Podfirst at www.podfirst.com. That's www.podfirst.com. Actually, it's an interesting conversation I just had. We're talking about how do you give people the information of like, I have coping mechanisms, strategies, techniques to don't fucking do trading.
Yeah.
Don't gamble. Gamble with money you don't care about in situations it's not going to, because as soon as I'm in a emotion where my dopamine starts going, and no good for me. And if I have too much dopamine, it's going to crash. And then I'm not good with that either. So I try and keep as level as possible for a non-level person. So trading's no good.
Well, yeah, there's different types of trading. I think maybe swing trading would be something that'd be up your street, because there's different types we could talk about.
Yeah.
Because there's scalp and day and it's whoa, and then there's like trading once a week, once a month, that type of thing, you know, buying the lows, buying the highs, but on a higher term time frame where you can sit back a little bit.
Yeah, because I'm really good at pattern recognition.
Me too.
So people have said, if you could get that under control, it'd be very, very good. So like you just commented about the questions I ask, I'm very good at coaching.
Yes.
In the sense of, if someone starts talking to me about something, I'm like, I can't make sense of what they're saying a lot of time. So I ask those questions because I'm like, well, that doesn't really add up. You must have drove then. If you did you drink drive? Like, so I'm like thinking, but to get that story to make sense, why would it be a mistake to go there? So I just ask them because my brain can't cope.
Brilliant.
And then with coaching, if someone tells you a story, I used to coach a certain type of individuals, and they wouldn't know that it was something that dad did when they were a kid. They told us stories, and I'm like, but I'm trying to follow what they're saying. And their story is emotional. So it doesn't make any sense logically. So then I'll be like, but if that's the case, I don't think they're lying to me, well, then that must be true. And if that's then true, then this. And if that's also there, then it must be that. Mm-hmm. And so if I could apply, I sometimes could apply to trading. I think I just, like I said, I'm too probably emotional to the money side of it. As soon as the pound note going, I'm like, but I'd be interested to hear how you got into it. Because people hear crypto and there's such a stereotype.
Straight away.
Because you're obviously actually a professional person. What's your background?
17 years. I used to look after this aircon unit. These were built in 2021, so it wasn't these, but it was Dryden next door. So I used to look after this Nottingham Trent. I've travelled the country, 17 years a tradesman, got cancer, got into property investment, quit my job when I didn't have a plan, ADHD. Screw it, I believe in myself, go for it. The only reason I did it is because my wife believed in me, and that gave me the faith to go, you know what, boom, let's go. So I did it, got into property, realised I was good, started coaching, and then realised it was too much like flipping hard work, because around that same time of getting into property, I was studying trading on my hospital bed as well, but never really went into it massively, like you, Forex, bit of this, bit of that. Realised property was too much like hard work. So then I started to explore in trading, probably around 2019, 2020, just before lockdown. And just went from there. I love coaching myself as well. So anything that I do, I always end up coaching. If I found a way to tie your shoelaces differently, I'd be pulling out a coaching plan. Not because I'm one of these people that just makes, there's loads of scammers out there. There's loads of people that don't know what you're doing, but I just love people. I just love reading people. Like you say, when I'm talking, I'm reading them. I'm looking at their eye contact. I'm looking at what they haven't said rather than what they have said. I'm looking at ego and then looking at behind why the bravado's there and all that type of stuff. So I love reading people. And most of my one-to-one sessions in crypto, flipping marriage counseling and stuff like that anyway, because like you said, trading is an emotional game. It's more about the person and their circumstances and how they process information than it is trading. Because once you learn the skills, which is 10% of it, The rest of it, 90% is your mindset,
Mm.
keeping everything under control. And I had to do a lot of that going through the cancer journey.
Mm.
So learned lots of lessons, Christianity as well. I live, by the principles of the Bible. I'm just having a time of my life right now, just working with people. So the trading's great because it's an income, but the people side of it, the event tomorrow, I mean, it's just brilliant.
So 2019, you're working a normal job, maintenance / aircons.
Yes.
Then you get cancer.
So I left school. I did not know what I wanted to do. And my dad said to me, get yourself a job, retire when you're 65, retire on a lovely pension, get a company car, everything's great. Back in them days, he says, you'll be on 22 grand a year, which meant you were smashing it. And then you work your way up to management, you're on 30 grand a year, you're smashing it. So I just followed my dad's leadership in that. But I don't know. As a 40-year-old man now, I look back on them days and I think being neurodivergent, I don't know about you, but being ADHD, neurodivergent, etc., it's something that I've accepted more as I'm getting older. But as a younger man, I tried to fight it because I saw it as a bit of a weakness and I tried to hide it and cover it up, etc. Whereas now I use it as a gift. So back then, the engineering game was never for me. Did a 4-year apprenticeship, realized I hated it from the very, very start. And I ended up being there for 17 years. And what that was air conditioning above us, ventilation, industrial refrigeration. So I used to be in a van, driving the country 1,000 miles a week. And I just absolutely hated it. And I never thought there was a way out. Never thought there was a way out until I got poorly. I got cancer. When you stare death in the face, something happens to the way that you think. A consultant looking over the bed saying that we're going to try our best to try and cure you. In the 21st century, my question was, what do you mean you're going to try and cure me? I thought everybody could be cured. He's like, well, no, we're going to try our best. That makes you think differently. When you stare death in the face, it makes you look at life differently. So looking at that 17 years of being an engineer, don't get me wrong, it learned me lots of life skills that are transferable into things that I do now, property, crypto, that type of stuff, because that technical mind. But coming from that place, staring death in the face and realizing that I wanted more for life, I think when we go through life, it's easy just to live day to day, the mundane, and accept it. But when you face something like that, I think something comes upon you that says, what have I got to lose? What have I literally got to lose? So that's the mindset that I went. I mean, the story's massive, but we can dive into that.
Yeah. So, you're going to work, sorting out aircon units, and then what? You're feeling not very well. What happened?
Yeah. So, that okay there?
That's fine.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm at work, up a ladder, doing my usual stuff. I keep looking up, even though people can't see the cameras. But the ventilation units here, it's a bit like when you're used to it, you can see it all. It's the first thing I noticed when I walk in a building. And I started to get unwell for about 3 months. So very lethargic, extreme pains in my pelvis. So what I was diagnosed with was acute lymphoblastic leukemia, which is lymphoma and leukemia together. So I started to feel unwell for about 6 weeks, like I had the flu, very lethargic. And then one day I got up in the morning and I had a lump on my neck just there. And I was like, what the flipping heck's that? I wasn't feeling too well. Anyway, you think it's a cyst, you think it's nothing. About 6 weeks after that, I got another lump, another pain around here, another lump appeared on my neck as well, and a pain around my heart. And anyway, I was watching, this is probably a 3-month period, I was watching the TV and the side of my face went numb. And we're taught on these TV adverts, I thought I was having a stroke. You see on these TV adverts, if your face goes numb or anything like that, you've got a certain amount of time to get to the hospital before serious stuff happens. So I ran upstairs and said to my wife, Babe, the side of my face has just gone numb. Bearing in mind the tumour's there, the side of my face went numb there. It was obviously growing and pressing on some nerve or something, I can only imagine. We rushed to the hospital, and I was having a bit of a laugh and a joke. It was A&E. I was having a bit of a laugh and a joke with the nurse, some banter and all that type of stuff. And I remember the reason why I say that is because when you go to a hospital, it's nice to bring a bit of normality into the situation. So I'm bantering with him and all that. Anyway, we had some blood tests. We went away, came back. There was no banter. His face was just white as a ghost. And he passed me an envelope. He says, you need to go to City Hospital, and you do not pass go, do not stop. Just get to City Hospital. You need to go to haematology. So I'm thinking, okay, well, you've changed your tune a little bit. Went to City Hospital, and they walked in the room after having to wait about 4 hours and just said, you've got cancer. Now, I was 29 at the time. So I'm thinking, what the heck? I'm 29. I'm the only one in my family that doesn't drink or smoke. I'm into my weight training, or was big back in the day. I'm in my 20s. What is going on? What is going on with this? And that was the beginning of the journey of 3 years of chemotherapy, which, changed my life forever in terms of my outlook, and using that as a pivotal moment in my life to make a change.
What's that like? You just having a normal day watching TV. The next minute you're being told,
honestly,
you got cancer.
Earlier on that afternoon, I was watching TV. It was a Sunday afternoon. We were off to church in the evening. I was actually preaching that Sunday evening. I was like all ready, my nice clothes and everything, and then my face went numb. And you know, when you're ill, you try and relax at home. You're eating some good food, and you just chillaxing. And 5 hours later, I'm in a hospital bed being told I've got leukemia and lymphoma. It's just mad. You never think it's going to happen to you. Never. You always think it's going to happen to other people. But as I always say, as gruesome as it is, it's probably one of the best things and the most worst things that's ever happened to me. Because I think you've got a choice when you get told news like that and you go through the journey. Because we thought we'd be in hospital 3 months, a couple of paracetamols, a bit of chemo, and you're out. No, we did 2 months of real intense chemotherapy where it just takes you from hero to zero. You go from being a strapping bloke with muscles and hair and everything to 2 months down the line, you've got no hair, you're skinny, your wife's bathing you, you can't even walk upstairs, and then to be told 2 months after that, well, you've got another almost 3 years ahead of you. Something just happens to you thinking. I think you have to adapt. You have to adapt. I've always been into my positive mindset stuff anyway, and mental health and understanding different strategies to cope and deal with situations. And I think that made a man out of me, if I'm honest. You've got two choices. You either give up, you either feel sorry for yourself, or you look at what positives you can get out of that situation moving forward. Now, caveat, that's not to say that anybody listening to this who might be suffering or might have had loved ones that have suffered in this area, that's not being not being very compassionate about the situation. This is just my personal journey on it. I know that if I wouldn't have had that strong, focused mindset on that, well, I think me and my wife would have just gone down to ground zero, I think. And I think in marriages, in relationships, you've got to be strong for the other person sometimes. I think a lot of my coping mechanisms and getting through such a tough time was a lot of the time for my wife, for the people around you that love you, that are worrying about you. You kind of got to put a bit of a straight face on. And at times you feel like you're masking, but you're actually doing yourself a justice because you're helping yourself cope and you're learning, you're learning lessons in that.
That can't have been instant though, right? You sat in that bed, doctor's now white, passing you an envelope and saying you got cancer.
It's a process, brother. Yeah, it's me and my wife had a cry. Then your mum walks through the door. She's crying. Your brothers and your sisters, they're looking at you as if to say, where did this come from? I'm the big brother. I'm the oldest of four. So like, I wouldn't say I'm the father figure, but I'm the oldest. And I've always had stuff together. They know I've always been focused. I look after myself. And they're looking down at their big brother and they're saying, how did this happen? Mate, it was devastating. Absolutely devastating, because I'd only been married for 3 years. 3 years, bought a house. Everything's going well. White picket fence, company car, good job. And then boom. I couldn't work. I couldn't pay my bills. Thankfully, we had a good support network around us to help us with that. Granddad, mature, diluted sold some shares from his Rolls Royce pension and helped us with the mortgage and stuff like that. But you know who your friends are in them time. But yeah, it was majorly difficult for a young man with a new wife, trying to make sense of life anyway, trying to put on the bigger jacket to be a good husband and enter that season of life in your 30s. And then you think you're getting your identity together, and then that happens. And then you're like, well, more learning to be done then. So yeah, it was very, very, very devastating, very sad, but
you're still here.
I'm still here. You have to make lemonade out of the lemons, and you have to make whatever you can out of life, no matter what it throws at you, because there'll be people listening to this that have been through tough times themselves, and they'll know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm not against it, but I've certainly had tough times. It's very difficult to then express to people how bad it actually is or was, because they haven't lived it. And I'll say everyone's story is different. No one story is worse because you're living your own version of it, all right? But I definitely cannot relate to being told in that way, I'm going to die.
Well, you're a leader like me, I can tell. First time I shook your hand, I thought, he's very similar to me. Very focused, very driven, leader, knows where he wants to go, got his life planned out. I'm like that. One thing you realize in that moment, that you're not in control. You are not in control. It doesn't matter how many weights we lift, how strong our mindset is, how authoritative we feel. In life, you can be humbled in a split second. And your ego goes out the window. My wife met a strapping bloke with his life together and his whole life ahead of him. Fast forward 3 years, 2 months, and she's bathing me. I look like an alien. I've got a bald head. I'm skinny. I'm pale. I'm being sick. I'm not well. And she's bathing me. She's clothing me, just looking after me. And I can't even get out of bed. And I just think, wow. And that's when your vows come into play, when, through sickness and health, and you think that's never going to happen to you. And I don't know. I think some of the most beautiful things in life are the things that humble us, no matter how terrible it is, because I think unless you're a moron, you become out the other end a better person, a more humble person, a more understanding person, a more compassionate person, because admittedly, because of my personality type, being a leader, being focused, being black and white in a lot of things that I do, sometimes I have in the past lacked compassion, lacked putting my arm around somebody and kind of understanding where they're at if they're going through pain and suffering. But that's why I love coaching. That's why I become a coach, because back in the day I would have said, come on, pull your socks up, it'll be all right, you're going to be all right, stop moaning, man up and all that kind of stuff. And you realize that's very immature language. And I think going through tough times and coming to a point where I have been humbled in a lot of areas of my life, in the rebuilding of myself, I'm now able to relate to people a lot better. And I think in life, it doesn't matter how much money you've got, what you do in business, what your life looks like, however important you think you are. The meaning of life is relationships. When we're all on our deathbed, we don't wish we would have worked harder. We don't wish we would have earned more money. We don't wish we would have bought that flash car. Although these are nice things to enjoy while we're here. Of course they are. I drive a nice car. I've got all these things myself, successful in business. That's great. But we all wish that we would have spent more time with the ones we loved, doing the things we enjoy. Because that's what life's about. Being lonely with no relationships is horrible, but being with people is a beautiful thing, which is why I fast forward, got my own coaching company now, mentor people, come around people, run events, take people from where they're at when they don't believe in themselves, see the inner potential and bring that out of them, and then see them succeed in life and see them spending more time with the family, helping them with financial freedom, all of these types of things, because I understand how important it is to be able to allow yourself to do those things in life, because people preach financial freedom, and that's great. But what does it actually mean? I always strip it back and think, what does financial freedom mean to you? I want to be rich. No, you don't. What are you going to do when you've got enough money? What does your life look like? I want to go on holidays. Okay. What about when you're bored of those holidays? Then what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to buy a nice car and a big house. I'm like, right, imagine you've got all of those things in life. You've accomplished all of these things that you think are important, these material things that are nice to enjoy at times. Don't get me wrong. What is important to you? And I think when you start getting real down into the nitty gritty of it there like that, it always comes back down to people. I want to help people because everybody's got a story and everybody wants to use their story to help other people. And 9 times out of 10, it's because they've been through a rough time. And because of that, they know how people feel when they're having rough times. So most people's answer, when you really dig deep about their calling, their purpose in life, the meaning of life, is to have strong, long-lasting relationships with people and to help them where they're at and bring them to a point where of success, of however that looks to that person. So, yeah, I'm quite a deep guy. That type of stuff really stimulates my mind. I love people and I love bringing out the best in people. And I think going through a tough time, we can use those tough times to help other people from, the struggles that they're going through, because it's very hard to help people if you've never been in their shoes or can't relate to them.
So going back then to when you said young, strapping man, didn't then think 3 years and 2 months later your wife would be barfing you. How did that make you feel as a man?
I always said you're very good with questions, Ben. At first, less of a man, until I understood what a man is. Less of a man. I believe that a human being is split into 3: spirit, soul, flesh, the material, the body, and the soul is mind, will, and emotions. So, not understanding the makeup of who I was at 29, it made me feel less of a man because I couldn't provide. Men want to provide. Men want to save the day. Men want to be the heroes, naturally speaking, from my experience and my opinion, my outlook on life. And I couldn't do that for my wife. She was those things to me. She was saving the day. She was looking after me. She was my hero. And the roles completely reversed in the marriage. And I'm there getting looked after. I've not got the physical strength. I'm still there in spirit. I'm still there in my mind, will, and emotions, in my soul. I still love her. I'm still providing for emotional needs. But I can't provide. And it cut me in half. It really did. It really, really floored me. There was no ego left because I couldn't have a bravado. I couldn't tell her it was going to be okay, because there's parts of me, although I did say that at times, I didn't know if it was going to be okay. So yeah, it just cut me open. It just cut me open. And then from that point, I was able to understand what a man is. A man is a person that's not necessarily in his outward actions, but who I could be for other people. So when I started to notice that I was good with people and I had a bit of a calling on my life to help people, because I was the one on the bed, hospital bed. The nurses used to come in and sit on the big bin. I used to have this big bin in the room that was quite sturdy. They used to come and sit on the bin, and they used to come and tell me about all their marriage problems, relationship problems, money problems, problems in life. It happened about 5 times. And then they jump off the bin and go, sorry, I'm supposed to be looking after you. But I was in my element because I felt like I could actually add something. I wasn't physically strong, but I felt like I could actually add something to people. And when I was getting my IV drips, chemo, blood transfusions and all that, and you'd sit in a chair for 8 hours in day case in City Hospital, just sitting there getting the medicine put into you. And I'd be talking to people at the side of me. There'd be a 22-year-old there that was a personal trainer with leukemia like me. There was an older guy that was retired at 65, thinking that he was going to be walking into a great life of retirement after he'd finished working. He's going through the same. And I'm talking to these guys and I'm asking the 22-year-old, what are you going to do when you get out of here? You're going to get married? How many kids are you going to have? What's the big plans? What do you want to do? Do you want to scale your PT business? And I'm thinking, I'm in my element here. I'm poorly. I'm getting IV drips poured into me. I'm not feeling very strong physically, but mentally and spiritually, I'm on fire right now. Talking to the old man. I'm talking to him about what his grandkids want to be when they're older and how much time he wants to spend with them, and talking to the nurses. And I'm thinking, wow, there's something here. And I think in that moment of understanding, yes, at first it broke me in half and I didn't feel very strong as a person. What I started to realize is true strength comes from within. And I was able to add value to people's lives. And I don't know about you, but when I help people and add value to their lives and getting good conversations that are stimulating for people, when I help people, it makes me feel better than it does them, to be honest. And I think that was a crucial moment where the turning point was from feeling like a failure to actually feeling like a somebody, to actually rebuilding my identity in a way that wasn't actually there before. I might have looked great on the outside, but internally I was probably quite weak. But as I started to rebuild myself mentally and spiritually through this bad experience, I actually started to realize I was rebuilding myself stronger than I was before. So yes, I went from broken to actually feeling better about myself through the times. Physically broken, but internally strong.
So then how long did the chemo go from when you first got told, started chemo, talk about just sitting in there and helping those guys?
Yeah, so it's in cycles. So you go in at first, you have a month intensive, then you have a break, and then you go into another month, 4 weeks of intensive. And then you have a break, you have a couple of scans to see how it's going. And then it's just in cycles. You'll have like 3 weeks, then you'll have 3 weeks off, and it goes like that. So yeah, it was a continuous process of intense chemo for 9 months. And then after that, you're allowed to go back into normal life, become an outpatient, take lots of tablets, go in occasionally once a month and have some chemo. But I was able to get back to work, get a spanner in my hand again, and start actually feeling like a man again.
For someone who has never had chemo, how horrific actually is it?
Not as bad as you think. Not as bad as you think. You think when you see it on films, you think you see these people in bed, and I've been that person myself, to be honest, where you're white as a ghost and you're really ill. You're not in pain. You just feel like you got the flu. There's nothing that a couple of paracetamols can't sort. You are sick. You are weak. You can't really do much physically, but not as bad as you think. It becomes normal life. And that's when you start to make it part of your life so that you can cope and so that you can actually get on with stuff and go out for meals with your spouse and go and see your friends and go and watch the football and get back to work and all the things you miss. One of the things that I always, when I was in for the first couple of months, it was really intense. One of the things I really missed was I said to my wife, I said, I just want to walk down Skeggy Beach, because that's where my grandma lives and we've always done that growing up, with a bag of chips and just smell that sea air. It's amazing that when you're in that scenario, all you want to do is the things in life that don't actually cost much. You just want to spend time with the ones you love and have a bag of chips and do the simple things in life. So yeah, chemo, not as bad as you think. Bit of sickness, but if they find you if they find you the right anti-sickness, you're all right.
So
maybe I'm playing it down. I don't know, but
yeah, I mean, I think if I went home and watched some TV now and got told I had cancer 5 hours later, I'd probably be like, for fuck's sake, that's not what I wanted on a Thursday.
Steep learning curve, mate.
And then I think I'd be like, if I'm going to die, can you just get on with it? It's probably what I'd think, if I'm honest. I've obviously been in a bad mental place in my life and been a few times in that place. So that's for me, obviously, choice to then want to not be here. But I can't imagine being told I was going to die and then being like, waiting for it.
Well, this is the thing. So I'm a Christian, Bible-believing Christian. So for me, in the mindset that God helped me get in, I thought it's a win-win for me. If I live, I get to spend the rest of my life with my newly wedded wife of 3 years, and we get to accomplish everything and live a real good life. But if I die, I'm in heaven with you, Lord, which is paradise. So it was a win-win for me. And I'm not saying I wanted to die. I really wanted to live because I was still a young man, probably 30 years of age then, because a bit of time had passed. And I thought, well, I really want to live. And if it's your will, let me live a good life. And if I do live, I really want to make a difference in the life. Hence why I'm into coaching and helping people now. I want to make my life count. But if I die, I'll be with you in paradise. So that mindset for me it was a bit of a win-win, which is where the faith came from. And the opposite of faith is fear. So the fear started to dissolve and disintegrate, and the faith began to rise. And I was closest to my Father in heaven than I've ever been in my life. So it was one of the best times in my life in that respect, because I felt so close to God. It was unreal.
People talk a lot about their faith until 9/11 happens, or 7/7 happens, or any of these other sort of things happens like that. And they find it really difficult to then deal with their relationship with their faith when their loved ones have been taken from them, or they find out they're ill. You're sounding in a very different mindset to that.
Well, God created the heaven and earth. Where there is good, there's evil. When he created man, he didn't create man to do as they're told and live with him telling them to do everything. He gave man free will, didn't make robots. So in that, when I say man, I mean male and female human beings. Human beings make their own choices, and human beings do some evil things, but also human beings do good things. In my opinion, is God responsible for the bad things that happen? No. Why does he allow them to happen? Because he is a gentleman and he's given human beings free will to do what they want. Now, when Judgment Day comes, every single human being, in my opinion, that's ever existed is going to have to give an account for everything that they've done in life. And whether we get justice in this world, we'll certainly get justice afterlife. And yeah, God is good. He's still the same today as he's always been. He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. He's outside of time. He doesn't change. And he's a God of love. And it breaks his heart when bad things happen as well. But we're not robots. Each person and how he's developed us, he's allowed us free will to make our own choices.
Did your faith stay as strong all the way through when they told you had cancer?
Stronger. I didn't believe that God allowed this. This is the thing that people really struggle to get their heads around. I take full responsibility. I take full responsibility for everything that happens in my life, everything, including cancer, because I know the life I was living before that. I was a young man. People might struggle with this, but I was a young man. I was highly stressed. Maybe my diet wasn't the best. Maybe I did eat a high sugar diet. There was lots of contributing factors. I was stressed. I was a people pleaser. I was over leveraged in every area of my life in terms of what I was giving out, trying to do everything. And I actually banged myself at work. I was trying to get a job done. I actually banged myself at work 3 months before diagnosis. And I banged myself just there on a piece of metal at work, which is exactly where the tumour was. And I spent the first couple of weeks in hospital beating myself up because I knew that I was responsible for that. So when we're highly stressed, we create an environment internally in our bodies that allows disease to thrive. So me being highly stressed, me trying to people please, me banging myself at work, all the other factors that we don't need to go into, and this will be forever, but all the defining factors to bring me to that point in my life, it helped me cope with it better, knowing that I had something to do with it. That's not to say that I think that all cancers are, because I do believe that innocent people just get cancer out of nowhere. But I believe that everything that happens to us in life is a byproduct of the choices that we make. People may argue with this. People may say, well, my child got ill. And I understand that. And there are cases where things just come out of the blue. But in my case, I took full responsibility for everything that had happened to me. And it helped me with the rebuilding process. I don't like unanswered questions. So I like to critically study everything, which is why I'm into trading as well. I like to analyze, notice patterns. I went through my diaries. I went through what I'd been up to the 3 months, because basically the cancer that I had, you get it about 3 months before you get diagnosed, and it can kill you within 3 months. So I caught it just on the cusp. So I scrutinized my life at the run up to that. I remembered where I was, what I did, how it looked, everything. And I thought, wow, okay. Which is why when I got better, this is why I set up my business, because I'd realized that the job that I was doing was making me miserable, stressing me out, bringing me to a place that was making me unrecognizable to myself and causing me high levels of stress and unhappiness. So, and that was a contributing factor, I believe, rightly or wrongly medically, as a human being taking responsibility for his own life. I believe that did contribute. So I needed to get out. That's why I made the drastic choice to just hand my notice in and go for gold.
So if people know you from your social media, and I don't know how far they look into your social media, so maybe there's more than I've seen. Crypto trader, online coach to the crypto space. That sounds a very different, stereotypically, message, crypto trader, coaching crypto, than what you just told me for the last few minutes.
Yeah. It's hard because crypto has got a stigma about it that is scammy. The problem is people get scammed because they make poor choices. They give their money to a broker or somebody else. This person promises miracles, invest in this coin and it will go up. And you'll make loads of money and become a millionaire overnight, and you'll have a Lambo by next week. And that's the stigma it's got. And that's because people have made a lot of money from taking that approach, but it's full of scam artists and not many human beings that are actually bothered about training people in that. How do you cut through all that? How do you become different to all of that? I don't know. I don't know what the secret is, but when I came from engineering to property and then from property to crypto, I always said there needs to be more human beings in this space. There needs to be people that are family people. I'm a family man. There needs to be more people that are actually bothered, that turn up, that run in-person events. At the end of the day, I wouldn't run in-person events if I was a scam artist, because I'd probably get my head kicked in. People come from all over the country to see me in Nottingham, where I'm based. And I did that on purpose. I did that for a reason, because I think, well, that shows that what we're on with is actually authentic and genuine. So, yeah, I suppose it is a little bit of a different from the Simon that I am and the journey I've been on to where I am now. How do you communicate that you're different from the rest? I don't know. It's a journey that I'll probably be on for the next 10 years.
I think there's probably many ways we could answer that question. I think, well, literally, obviously, I run a personal brand agency, so I think personal branding is, and that's not just from the fact, obviously, I've got my own podcast and why I started the company in the first place, but I feel when I obviously I've scaled coaching companies in the past, how do you get people to know who you actually are versus as soon as you press record and start the nonsense about doing whatever it is that you're trying to make the content about? I realized, the data showed, I made significantly more money when I went live on Facebook, back when Facebook Lives were a thing. Private group, I mean, lots of money. 5-day challenges. Back when Facebook ads were a good thing, obviously still a good thing, but like the lead cost in 2014, 15, 16 was like free air. I made a lot of money, and it was all through Facebook, like mostly through the kind of interest and attention I'd generate from that. Whereas then when it's more staged, scripted, trying to do content, in my opinion, it sucked. And certainly the results were nowhere near that engagement, that energy, that vibe.
Mm.
And so I think like that's the thesis that I started to think, how do you replicate you in person but online?
It's massive, mate. I need some help from you, I think.
Because of what? Yeah, it's interesting because of what I hear. It's really hard, right? And I'll just be really honest with you. I was born a Christian, but I was raised Christian. My parents were Christian.
Okay.
My
Still practicing your faith?
ins and outs. We'll get into that because I obviously had a tough time in my life and turned immediately, ironically, straight towards it.
Yeah.
So I always say to people, how can you pray when shit's going tits up, but you don't when it's not? And then I did the same thing myself. So we'll come to that. I was born and raised Christian, Sunday school. My parents did lots of missionary work, built schools and orphanages in Kenya. I spent a lot of time in Mombasa in Kenya throughout my childhood, all that sort of stuff. And so I have the values and beliefs were set by the time I was 7, 8, like everyone else is. And so I have the same kind of core things that you have because I was taught that from a young age.
Did you adopt your parents' faith, or did you have your own personal relationship with God? That's the difference.
My parents, I don't give a fuck about how they take it. Parents behaved incredibly badly to each other behind closed doors, and in many ways. So I was grew up learning that clearly what you see on the outside is not then actually what you then do.
Wow.
And I can obviously tell you a lot of stories that obviously transpired into an adult life of mine that was not good, and bad decisions and bad choices of mine, which obviously cost me everything I had and everything else alongside it, which obviously went out for the tough time.
Wow.
And so, and then you do know who your friends are. You do know who you are when you fucking lose everything. You sat there, your mates like, fucking hell, that was a bad day, Ben. All for your own fucking doing. And so then, yeah, that's a journey back from that moment. Different to being told you got cancer, but it's fucking up there.
It's all relative, though.
Yeah.
That was important to you, and there's no levels.
I know.
One's a disease and one's a life circumstance, isn't it?
Well, what, the disease was fucking me. I was the disease. So I was, trying to cut it fucking out.
Takes a big man to admit that, though.
It's just the fucking truth. Like, just direct. It's just the truth. But genuinely hearing when Christians go too hard on the Christianity, it's fucking hard because it's like, how do you get the message to land without telling it? Practice, not preach. How do you get people to take on board? Because actually, if you think about it, like distill it down, be good unto others, treat your neighbor like you want to treat yourself. There's some concepts, obviously, in the Bible that just kind of make a lot of sense. Be nice to people and treat people well. And obviously, there's lots of other things too. But then
Jesus does say that you will know my disciples by the fruit that they bear. So, by the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So whatever's going on internally will externally manifest anyway, and you'll see it. And that's where the relationship, like your wife or your husband, the relationship that you build with them becomes intimate. And then before you know it, you become like them. You want to please them. You want to live for them. And, you want to just be a better person because you're in love with that person, and life's just better. And it's the same with God. You fall in love with God because you know he's got you back and he's the best dad in the world. And he sent his one and only son to die for it. Whoever believes shall have eternal life and not perish. Jesus Christ is Lord. That's what we've got to confess as Christians. And because of that, we actually supernaturally, spiritually become better people. And we don't have to try. Because like I said at the beginning, we've got spirit, soul, flesh. Flesh is our bodies, the outer. Your spirit's connected to God. Your body is connected to the world and the temptations of this world. And then you've got your soul in the middle, which is your mind, will, and emotions. Well, both sides are in combat for your soul. So you've got the world pulling you this way. Let's not forget you've got you've got God and the devil. So devil is a fallen angel with his troops. Third of heaven went with the devil when they got slinged down to earth. Not to digress, but you've got evil pulling you this way, and the temptations of the world and the empty things in life you think will make you happy, but they don't. And then you've got blissful heaven, God pulling you this way, who wants a relationship with you. And you've got to decide what part of your internals, where do your internals point? None of us are perfect. And with that, if your soul starts to go towards your spirit, are we spirit-led or are we led by the flesh? They're the two questions we've got to ask ourselves. Are we led by our desires, our fleshly desires, sex, drugs, rock and roll, fast cars, money, greed, business, all these things? Are we consumed by that, or are we consumed by the things of God, which are completely opposite? And as you begin to become more spirit-led, and everything inside your internal, which is your soul, is spirit-led, you make better decisions. It's not a hard act to be nice to your neighbor and to go over and above, because you naturally become, the more you fall in love with God, you naturally become a better person anyway. That's my opinion and that's my experience.
But let me ask you this. If we just speak about your coaching business for a moment, if we started running a VSL, video sales letter, some ads to our landing page, but you're talking about crypto, delivering to camera with maybe some charts open, displaying the market at the moment, or some coins or whatever. And then you looked at the data and you showed that at 6 minutes in, everybody started watching. Or almost everybody. Would you carry on running the ads to that VSL?
No, I'd change it.
So what would you think? You'd think, okay, 6 minutes in, I've started to lose people. So what if we talk about marketing, we think the message has been potentially lost there with how I communicate that.
Yes.
And so what I meant with the Christianity piece is as soon as people start talking, Christians start talking, too much Christianity, and I don't mean there's too much, like it's too much of a, they lose people because they're up here with faith and they're often meeting people who are down here with faith or none at all.
Yeah.
And it's really hard for someone who's listening to this, you talking there, I feel, and I had a background of it, you're going to lose people because the message, and this is just my opinion.
This is good.
The message is strong. But you're going to lose people, I think, because people are not ready to hear it. Just as if you started telling me, you know certainly that coin, that thing, that concept, you can see you might move your entire fucking fund right in. But I'm not going to do that because I've got no idea what you're talking about that coin, that trade. So it's the same. Because you believe, that's why you speak with such passion towards it. And so when you spoke to me at the beginning and said, I want to come and I want to help people. Best help I can give you is to tell you, what if you're missing people with how passionate you are is not coming through? No, sorry, that's the opposite. Your passion is coming through.
Yeah.
But because you're so passionate towards it, someone else came on here the other day and he had a powerful story. He lost a child.
Wow.
And I sat there for about 20 minutes thinking, I'm going to have to fucking say something because I can't sit here in good faith and say nothing because it's just not who I am. I said, I mean this with the best intentions. I said, you are not answering my questions. You're not telling me the facts of what the hospital did that killed your child.
Wow.
I said, I believe you because you're telling me how to feel about the fact and how to interpret the facts. I'm emotionally like, I can feel a wall going up towards you. I don't care that you're black. I don't care that you're a man. I don't care you're passionate about it. I'm not scared of you at all. I'm just hearing I'm asking you what actually physically happened at that day, date and time. And you then telling me a detail as a factual one and then telling me how to interpret the facts. And if we were in court, you'd be stopped as in drawing a conclusion, leading to a conclusion.
Yeah.
So I was like, you need to just I'm asking you, hey, just answer the questions I'm asking. And the audience are going to hear from you just saying, well, that makes sense because if the day after we made a complaint about that thing happening where you punctured her lung, then you made a report in social services here the next day about us. And then we made another complaint. Then she had COVID the next day, but then the labs have lost the things. And then this happened. I'm like, it doesn't need you to help me to draw the conclusion. I can draw my own. As soon as you start telling me how, almost leading me to a conclusion, I'm now feeling like, well, maybe you're not telling me the truth because you're desperate to get. Now I said, I know you know the full story. And he said, he had it was, I was thinking this could go fucking horribly wrong.
I think healthy debate's brilliant.
It wasn't even debate. I believe the lad. I know what's gone on. I was just trying to say, I can see he's going to court and suing the NHS. And I was like, it'd be a disservice for me to not say to you, what if people perceive you how I am right now? I go, well, why can't you answer my question? Because the barrister's going to rip you half, the defensive, the one against you. And so I was like, can you just tell me the things? And when I say this, what I mean and why I framed it like that is the Christianity pieces. Where did when I asked you, you didn't think you're going to die? Someone listening to that, I feel, would go, fucking hell, something about his faith was so strong that he got told he got cancer and he might die and he's closer to God. How do I rationalize what he's just said?
Define death. So in the physical, yes, I may not have been here, but the finite time that we've got on earth is so short compared to the infinity that we're going to be in paradise when we all die. Believe in God.
But when you make a trade, you don't think, if I lose 100 grand, then at least God's going to give me some more in heaven.
Money's not going to, the medium that we've just used here, the vehicle that we've used, money, is not going to be important in heaven. But
death, but using death as a vehicle, people would perceive death as, I'm now here, now I'm going to die, I'm going to flatline, I'm going to die, they're scared of death. As you said, faith and fear, but they're driven by the fear.
Yes.
And you're talking about faith. If we were talking about, again, marketing, using that thing, we'd go, how do I speak to the crypto beginner who has not had the epiphany yet? So we're speaking, you're wanting to speak from what it sounds to me is like to a pre-Christian, haven't had the epiphany yet. So what's the language we'd have to use to speak to a
No, it's good. Well, we're always learning. And to be honest, if I've not conveyed it as good as I could, I do apologize for that. But for me, Christianity is simply this: a relationship with God.
What does that mean?
So God hates religion. Christianity is not a religion. It's not full of religious acts that we must do every single day. It's a relationship with the best dad in the world. So my dad personally, many years when I got from a bit of a broken family as I was a teenager, he's an alcoholic. He's destroyed the family. Last time I seen him was when I was on my hospital bed years ago, 10 years ago now. And he never returned. So I've not had a good representation of what a good father is.
Mine too.
Yeah. So knowing that no matter what I faced, I've had God, the Father, in my corner, I suppose for me, the conviction comes because I know I've had backing from God. So relationship for me, although I can't see the invisible God, I know he's there in spirit. Because like I say, we're more spiritual beings, and there'll be people who don't believe in God but are very spiritual, because we're all born with a spirit, soul, and body.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who are spiritual wise, and I'm definitely spiritual also in the sense of whether it's believing things happen. I don't mean things happen for a reason. I feel like we create the reason.
We're curious creatures, aren't we?
We create the reason. Yeah, we are. But I also, same when I turn back towards my Christianity, I'm also very much going into spirituality and understanding like who I am in those parts and what made me how I am, whether it's my parents and my experience as a kid and as an adult. But I still, because I had some situations you think, people would say to me who know me, like, how have you managed to skate through that? And friends of mine would say, you're Ben Edwards, you couldn't always land in roses. And I would be like, but I think I thought it was effort at the time. Like, I try though. I try very hard to land where I land. It's not an accident. But to hear what you're saying there and just to try and take that, what your message is coming through, I find you a better man than me in that sense. Certainly a better Christian than me in any way at all, completely. Because I think I definitely would doubt my faith, or at least question it when I'm there laid thinking, what the fuck?
I disagree. I'm not better than you. And the reason why, in those moments, so when I say relationship with God, what is a relationship to you, for instance? What is it? What is a good relationship?
Fuck me.
Loyalty, love,
Yeah.
acceptance. Even though you, all of us have been clowns, we've made mistakes. Imagine having that person there that constantly just forgives you infinitely and understands and then helps you be a better person from your mistakes.
But that's you creating that relationship because there's nothing coming back the other way.
From God?
Yeah, like right now, you obviously have the faith. So let me say I'm somebody who's questioning the faith.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying you get all this loyalty from God. Like that's like me saying, well, you're loyal to me. I barely know you, so you're not loyal to me. I have no proof that you are loyalty to me. What have you done that's loyal to me?
As in God?
Well, me, I sit here near here with you. I don't know you that well.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have any loyalty. I don't feel loyalty from you. That you haven't done anything against me. So how would I build loyalty with God and feel loyalty from God when he hasn't done that for me? I'd have to believe that he did that for me. And how do I do that without seeing it or feeling it? How do I feel that? Where's that come from?
Well, the Bible says that God's met us halfway, 50%. So we've got to do our bit. He's got to do his. And my only two things I'd say: one, got to ask him, reach out, prayer. And two, John 3:16. He gave his one and only begotten Son to die for each person, every person that's ever existed. He gave his one and only Son. The spiritual reasons for why Jesus came down, God in human form, to die on the cross, resurrected. He's the only human being in the history of this earth that's ever resurrected from death and then ascended to heaven. And then the Holy Spirit came. So there's things he has done. He's there. When you reach out in that time of pain, he's there. And the reason why I say I'm not better than you is because in that moment, God gave me the gift of faith. As a human, I would have failed to try and have that faith. It was very difficult. As a mere man, I find it very, very difficult to do that. But because I knew I had him, because I reached out to him, because I said, Dad, I need you. Give me some help. This is terrible. In that moment, spiritually, he came and met me and allowed me to manifest it. Remember that whatever happens in the internal, it comes out. And that it was a gift from God that I was able to deal with that situation so well. So it's a great circle of greatness, because all I had to do was reach out to him, and then he came and allowed me to. God created us all to mirror himself. We're all created in God's image. So what I was doing, I was mirroring his goodness, and it was gratitude. Thank you that I'm not dead. Thank you that I've not suffered as much as I possibly could. Tony Robbins talks about this. Practicing gratitude solves everything, because it's hard to be down in the dumps when you're constantly thankful for the things that are happening. So I think we build faith. It's not an instant thing. I think it happens with relationship and trust, etc., etc. So I don't think anybody's better than anybody else. I think you've just got to give God a chance. You've got to reach out to him and pray and talk to him.
So if I am hearing what you're saying, then just like me and you sat here as two adult males right in front of each other, we would not just trust each other straight away. We would not just have loyalty from each other straight away. We would build that over time. So we're talking here. If we meet again, we speak again, we do something together, we do this thing. We're going to build a relationship. But first of all, we have to be here having this conversation to open ourselves to a relationship.
Got to show up.
And that's the same as what you're meaning by.
And the Bible says he's met us halfway. Are you going to do your bit? And as soon as you do, it will change your life. There's nothing special about me apart from the fact I made a choice to reach out to him and meet him halfway. That's it.
Did you make that choice whilst in hospital?
Okay, so I was brought up in a atheist environment, wasn't born a Christian, gave my life to God in 2009 because of different factors in life. Marriage breakdown and my parents thought they'd be together forever, just different things in life. And just, I don't know, like yourself, I've always asked questions. There's got to be more to life than this. What is it? And then there's just something inside me that I found myself in the right places at the right time, but I obviously needed to put the wheels in motion. I was actually training with a guy in the gym, real cool guy. His name's Gary Bruce. And weight trainer, just a real cool guy, but he was a Christian. He's charismatic. Wasn't a boring choir boy who sat on a church pew and that type of experience that I'd envisioned church is. I just, something about that guy. He hasn't got a flash car. He hasn't got loads of money. He hasn't got this. But he's such a beautiful person. He's like, I want to spend time with him. Took him to Nando's. I wanted to be around him because he had something about him. And I was like, mate, what is it about you? And I used to hear him in the changing rooms talking about Jesus. And I was thinking, oh, I've been out. Another one of them, is there? The guy blew my mind. He loved me in a time when people wrote me off. I was going through a tough time in my early 20s, and he loved me and he listened to me, and he's shown something different to the group of friends that I was hanging around with at the time. And I thought, wow, there's something different about you. He invited me to church, went to church feeling really heavy laden. And I tried everything. Like yourself, I'm going to find the solution to the problem. I'm going to put the effort in. I'm going to make this work. I tried everything at that particular time to feel better about what was going on in life. Walked in that church, skeptical, thinking, this is rubbish, this is. Just got down while they were all singing. I thought, I ain't getting up and standing up and singing. This is stupid. Got down. I thought, all right. The preacher had said, pray. Got down, praying. Said, all right, if you're there, show me. It was as if somebody just wrapped a warm blanket around me. I walked out of the church that evening as if I'd won the lottery. Circumstances hadn't changed, but something in me had. And I'd tried everything. I'd reached the limits of my humanity in the physical, in the natural, and I was touched supernaturally in the spirit. And it changed my life forever. And from that point, it got me curious. So I kept going back and I kept building the relationship with God. And before I know it, I was able to, 7 years later, when I got cancer, carry that on and know that he's never let me down before. So he sure as heck ain't going to let me down now, no matter what happens, because I know that he's a good God. I didn't want to come on this podcast and Bible bash people, but as you can tell, it's not Bible bashing. It's just, I've experienced the creator of the universe.
I think my stories are going to obviously be very different than yours.
Tell me.
It was in a bad time in my life. Like I said, 2022.
Not that long ago.
Not that long ago. It always starts with a bird, doesn't it? This
For
bit-
other listeners, this is a woman he's talking about.
Yeah, it is. But this one I'm referring to, actually, I met on I think it was on a dating app, actually. I was just sat in a garden dating app. Beautiful woman. Her name's Rebecca. And we started talking to the phone. She worked for a Christian radio charity.
Okay.
And we just got talking. And I told her, obviously, what's going on in my life. I was just wanting to talk to people, really. Kind of, not publicly, if that makes sense, or go out anywhere, really. I had a really shit time. And she said, I feel like I've been brought to you in this time. Just talking to her, really amazing.
Did she mean that romantically or
No.
just as a friend?
No, as in bring me back to God.
Oh, okay.
She was also massively into also Christianity. And so she actually introduced me to her church, which is actually Manchester based. And she introduced me to Pastor Mike from obviously YouTube. I did a live course from her church that was on Zoom at the time.
The Alpha course.
The Alpha course, yeah. Yeah, it was, those people were really nice to me, like you said there, during a shit time of life. So, yeah, different, but powerful, to be fair. People were nice. That's what I mean with the Christianity piece. Good people.
God often works most potently in our lives through relationships, through people. That's how he works best. And that's why we're called to be the hands and feet.
But like I said, I think it then loses people because it's then, you go into some sort of church environments and people don't act so welcoming and so kind.
We're all flawed. We all make mistakes. Maybe their leadership have not had somebody to go, hey, you need to get somebody better on the door because they're not giving me a cuddle or they're not smiling at me or whatever. They've not welcomed me.
Actually, spoke to a friend of mine. He told me about a church actually not far from in Nottingham. Went there a couple of times. I was doing my Ironman training. And actually, they said anyone wants to help volunteer. So I literally went to go on the forms. And I had a massive amount of judgment from them, from something that's going on in my life. And so I just was like, okay, I moved forward. I just didn't get, I was looking for like people to just be good people that were so kind versus like people that might, social circles not be the best, if that makes sense.
I think sometimes when we feel guilty for the things that have gone on in our life, this is not for you, this is just for people. People feel guilty, they feel heavy laden, they feel like they've been through a tough time in life. You can walk in. It's a bit like Tony Robbins. He said, if you want to buy a pink car and you talk about a pink car, everywhere that you look, there's a pink car.
Reticular activation system, yeah.
And I think, you know about that kind of stuff. And I think sometimes there's two stigmas that churches have got, that all they want is your money and they're very judgmental. And I think sometimes, maybe not in your case, but sometimes I'm guilty of this because once I get something in my head, that's all I will see. You can expect to be judged and you can notice things in people that may not be the case, like being judged, like people not being very nice to you, etc. They might be nice to your face, especially when you're neurodivergent as well. You can spot body language, you can see it. And sometimes I think with our own over-analytical, paranoid kind of minds that we're not in a good place. We know what we've done. We know we've done. When you walk into a church, you do feel exposed because you're naturally going with the baggage that you've got. You know you're before the Lord and you can feel exposed as a human being. And with everybody around you as well, it can be quite a place that makes you feel very conscious. And if people in the physical don't treat you a certain way or say the right things, it's a very complicated thing sometimes. People in church, we've got to get it right, and sometimes we don't. But maybe you might walk into another church and meet maybe a bloke like me that wouldn't judge you. I'd put my arm around you and I'd say, let's go, Fernando, let's talk about it. What's going on, man? I've been through a tough time myself. I'll get down to their level and say, I've been through a tough time. Never what you've been through, but it must be tough. And then just listen and only give advice if it's asked. And then sometimes we just need somebody to listen. One of the biggest things I hate in life is being misunderstood. It's horrible. When people think they know you and then they make a judgment on you. So to be listened to.
Yeah, validated.
To be understood. It's a beautiful thing. But some people aren't good with people. Yeah. Just because they're a Christian, it doesn't mean they're good with people, but some people are. So
yeah, it's a tough because you're just removing the Christian element from it. Like I was saying, you never know who you're talking to or what they're going through in that day. And so it's always, I find it really important to give people that time.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm a busy person. And also some people are douches and I don't do that. But I've tried to meet people when they never know what someone's going through, especially when they're like happy or masking happy. You never know what people are going through. I definitely try to listen to people in those times. And that's why, one of the reasons why I want to start, reasons why I originally started the podcast, because I wanted to talk to people about the shit that no one talks about.
Yeah, big time.
Because especially men, like, I talk to people in the sauna, especially going through that time that I just referred to. Like, people are like, fucking hell, like, they expect a fucking guy who looks like you, who's got what you've got and done what you've done, to say shit like that. And so that's why I say about the messages. I think I felt like, certainly when I was going through internal training I was doing, physical training, I was like, there's got to be a fucking reason for this. Trying to find a reason, purpose to keep going, like just in my life in general, which obviously I managed to find and carried on, and on me it's like, that's why I say the message. I think whether it's your message or mine, why we're doing this and why you're doing what you're doing is in Christianity and with your, coaching business and just trying to help people.
We've already talked about the
I know.
trading and the coaching.
But I think people will know more about you and more about what you care about because people don't care about what you know until they know how much you care. And so it's just, that's why I ask those questions, like, who makes you up? What's about you? Because, whether you know more about crypto than the next man, or your coaching is more authentic than this idiot, no one cares until they understand who you are. Because I think when people talk to you, they're like, oh, right, you're not what I get a lot. You're not what I expected. Oh, you're not expected. I didn't expect. Like, I remember a good friend of mine I met in the sauna. The reason I say this, I've just thought about him as we were talking a minute ago. He was struggling once. And he's talked very openly about his mental health to me. He was coming into the spa as I was going out of the spa in the morning. And I literally had the most busy day you could possibly imagine. A friend of mine was with me. He was coming with me on the day at work. And I said, are you all right, mate? He was like, no, not really. Went straight back with him. Cancelled everything. And mate was like,
you cancelled everything?
Yeah.
See?
He was like, fuck.
It's a gift.
He's just a really nice guy. Like, really nice guy. And he said to me when we first met, he said, because he actually overheard me and someone else speaking in the sauna, another bloke. He said, this is like listening to a podcast, this is. And I was like, oh, funny that, I've got one. And he said, I would never have spoken to you. I actually actively avoided you because of the way you look and how I would perceive you. Red language, very. And he said, I couldn't have been any more wrong about you. And we've got a really nice friendship now.
Brilliant.
But that takes time. That takes work to build friendship, especially as an adult male with other adult men in the sauna. It takes work, but it also takes you to show yourself to people, to actually build that, like kind of what you were speaking to before.
Yeah, it's good.
So then, to your point, or to our point before about how do people know you and who you are and what you're about? As soon as you mentioned crypto or Christianity, people probably switch off a little bit.
Yeah,
versus
maybe.
when they just talk about you. Because what you're doing, talking about yourself, even the way you answer the question, whether it's about Christianity or crypto, I think you can tell more about people by the way in which they answer the question than necessarily what the answer even is.
Wow. Well, hopefully I've made a good impression. I'm just me. The thing is with me, one of my main core values is authenticity. I can't be anything else. I can't fake it.
So, speaking of authenticity then, you're working a sort of normal job, I'm assuming, as you mentioned, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand a year kind of job. And then you got cancer, so you had no income. Mentioned a family member supportive in that time financially. So then, fast forward to we're 2025 now. How much money have you made from crypto?
A considerable amount.
In the 7 figures plus?
Yes.
So you've gone from being worth, probably zero then if family are lending you money, or I assume lending or helping you to live, to that's 2019, you say 2019?
I started my property and crypto journey 2018.
So in 2008, so cancer was in
2015.
2015.
And I'm studying while the treatment's going on because you've got a lot of free time during that time.
Okay.
You've got to do something with a mind like that.
Yeah. So 2015, you're in hospital, potentially could die. When some people are feeling sorry for themselves, you're learning crypto.
And property.
More
property than crypto.
When you say learning property, what does learning property mean?
So I'm reading books, going to crash courses, events, going to courses, signing up to mentorships, trying to get as much. Me and my missus actually remortgaged a house to release it, a large sum of money to get into property, to pay for the training. We actually got into deal sourcing and rent to rent.
We had someone actually here the other day talking about that.
Yeah, it's a great strategy. Served us well. And I was studying Forex and a little bit of crypto at the time because it was never very big back then.
Yeah.
It's bigger now. But I preferred the property because I was sucked into the more conventional route because everybody was negative about crypto. So I learned the skills. I've made horrific losses, by the way. Horrific losses.
I mean, I couldn't also relate to
honestly. I've woke up
Makes
to
me very sad.
I've woke up to losses that would cause most people to just want to give up forever because honestly, it's I
Well,
cried
that
on my missus's breast.
Oh wait, that's I'm not going to start that conversation.
Not very nice. It's been a long journey, brother.
Yeah, okay. Well, I know. There is one story you'll like though. I was in the McDonald's drive-thru in Grantham, not driving the car. I was on my phone and I went to log into a trading platform and it said, this email address already exists. And I reset the password and I had Bitcoin in it. And I was like, that's when I probably thought, fucking, who's a god? It was fucking, I was like, fucking.
See, he's there.
And I
Free Bitcoin.
Cash right out. I thought, fucking brilliant. I didn't know I had that. But no, in all seriousness. So you'd started deal sourcing. I'm just trying to like tell the chronological order because you started deal sourcing rent to rent. How much money did you generate by rent to rent and deal sourcing as a trading business versus owning property assets?
So in terms of deal sourcing, so I remember I was actually still in my job. So it was a crossover, still in my job around 2018. Handed my notice in 2018. Sold my first deal for $3,000, which at the time was my wages after tax. I was thinking, this is flipping brilliant, man. Mm. So I got the book for it, understood. First thing I'm thinking about everything, which is why I moved from property to crypto, which we'll move on to in a second. I like scalability. As soon as I do something once, I'm thinking, how do I scale this?
Yeah, you can't scale that.
Yeah, you can't. It's active income. So not only was I getting deals for myself, but I was getting too many deals than what we could afford to take on. So I got my first couple of rent-to-rents. I'm furnishing them, tenanting them, sorting out all the details and all that type of stuff. It's tough work. Mm. At the time, it felt better than having a 9-to-5 job, but then in the end, with the rent-to-rent business, it was becoming like a bloody 9-to-5 job anyway. So I started selling deals to investors, building my network, etc.
So you say $3,000 a deal. How many of those can one do in a week or a month?
Well, the best thing you can do is get in with agents and a network of landlords because they will pass you the deals. It's a little bit more difficult than it used to be. I think today, in 2025, it used to be a lot easier. It's a very crowded market now. But you could get, say, a block of flats and sell them as bulk, a portfolio buy with a landlord that's got a block of flats that just wants to rent them out on a company-let agreement, and then for somebody else to then rent them out as serviced accommodation.
So you say block of flats, you're talking like 20 flats?
Could be a block of 4, could be a block of 20. And so you sell that as a deal?
So potentially you have four flats, or 4 flats in a block of flats. $3,000 / $3,000 times 4?
Well, it can be, or it can be a percentage. It can be either like 1% of the revenue of the rent, or it could be $3,000 per deal. It all depends. It all differs. So I used to sell HMOs predominantly with some flats.
House of multiple occupancy.
House of multiple occupancy. Yeah, that's what we used to do. Rent to rent HMO. I did try serviced accommodation. Airbnb.
Shit show?
Well, yes. We had some that worked. We took on 5. We took on 5 6 weeks before lockdown.
Oh, no.
We lost 80K.
Oh.
Because we furnished them.
Mm.
Yeah.
I feel sad for you.
It was horrible.
Sorry for your loss.
No, it was horrible. That was we furnished them. They all looked brilliant, and on social media it looked absolutely outstanding. But we were, which is where the training company that we had helped, because that helped facilitate some cash flow to help us out.
So what was the story? So 2018 notice, $3,000 first property rent to rent deal, sourcing deal.
That was a 6-figure business, by the way, to answer your question.
So walk me through that. So walk me through because I know people will be like, well, how many deals you have to sell and how do you do that? Like, so your $3,000 deal, you could do how many of those in a week or a month?
5 to 10
a week or a month.
A week? You could do 5 a week.
So you could do.
It depends. So
between 50 and 50K in a month.
Yeah.
From deals.
Yeah, you can make a lot of money from it. It's unlimited. It's dependent on how much time that you've got to go out and view the properties. So we were national. So we used to, what I started to do in the end is create a network of other deal sources that could co-source through me. So I built my network and had the investors to sell the deals to.
You just need landlords. So it's like a marketplace, right? You get a deal from a landlord and
Yes.
you sell it to an investor who wants to put their cash into it.
That's it.
And then you basically act as an agent, is that?
Yeah, a middleman. Some of the richest people in the world are middlemen. So we charge a fee for our service. But I realised that I had a deal sourcer in Scotland, quite a few down south, and all over the country, because I started to notice that I could only be in one place at once.
Yeah, I've struggled with that as well.
Yeah. Omnipresent.
Spoke to God about that. Where can we duplicate ourselves?
So basically, you are duplicating yourself. So along this time, forward 2019, I set up a training company. So I've been doing it probably a year, 18 months.
Yeah.
And I set up a training company.
How much money had you made in trading income before you started a coaching company or trading, like educating people to do it?
I would say about 150K in terms of the deal sourcing company, plus the portfolio of properties that we had.
So 150K in terms of the 3K sourcing, and then you say portfolio as in you had X amount of like units yourself that were let out.
Yes.
Got you. And you were getting recurring monthly income from that.
Yes.
Cool.
Although it's not as passive as you think.
No, it's no.
I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And the more properties that we took on HMO wise and a few serviced accommodation, we had about 10 serviced accommodations, the rest were HMO.
Yeah.
You realise this is another job.
Yeah.
So as fast as we scaled, we then started to pull back because we thought it's
capped.
Tenant problems.
Yeah.
Now HMO, you get one property and you've got 6 problems. Now you can say, and there'll be people that are listening, you can systemize it. Agents do not like HMOs. So it's quite a hard thing to find property managers that will manage your HMO. It's difficult. So you find that you're doing that. That's taken me away from what I believe is a better money earner, which is the deal sourcing. I've always been more swaying towards the deal sourcing than I have.
You can get the deal and then give it to someone else.
Yes.
So they can do the hard work, essentially. They can manage it. You just get it and make a transaction fee.
Yes, exactly. Because our rent HMOs were only making us 700 quid to £1,000 per one anyway. You get the odd one that would make you £2,000
each
per property.
So now if you had 10, someone could make, £1,000 per one then. So you make 10 grand.
I'd say 700 quid. You could make £1,000. We had ones that were making £2,000. But because of the rental, it depends on what you could get the landlord's rent at. So because of rent to rent, we were trying to get the landlord to take as least rent as possible. So there'd be ex-student properties.
So you'd say you'd pay the landlord, just for the sake of easy maths, £500 a month, and then you'd rent it for £1,000 to make the £500.
Well, no. What we'd do is we'd pay the landlord, let's call it, we'd pay the landlord £2,000.
Yeah.
The bills would be 700 quid. We'd then rent it out for altogether on a room by room basis for 3,700, and we'd make £1,000 profit. So you'd have the rent to pay for, the bills to pay for, because when you rent a room out of homes of multiple occupancy, you have to cover the bills. So when they move in, it's all bills inclusive.
Got you.
So that's a rough example. So, £2,000, £700 rent, £2,000 rent, £700 bills, and then an extra £1,000 on top of that is going to be your profit because you're renting the rooms out for whatever it is. It might be 600 quid per room.
Got you. And so how many of those ish did you have in terms of numbers, just volume, and then how much that would?
We had about 20 units.
So
20 units.
So 20 grand a month, maybe ish.
Yeah.
So you did 20 grand a month reoccurring from that, but then you really can't go you can go past that, but you're then now employed and capped and.
Well, the thing, because the thing is, we had situations where somebody would, especially lockdown, so somebody decided they're going to move back to France. Didn't tell us. So the problem we found with the HMOs were people were just leaving without any reason, leaving us in the lurch. So there's something in property called voids.
Yeah, there is.
So we're finding, we've got 20 and it looks on paper fantastic, but you've got voids, you've got water leaks, you've got...
Just for clarity, a void is when someone's not renting the room. You usually have to pay the rent.
Yes. It's fantastic. I'll say words and then you describe what they mean. But I'll just get in the zone. So literally, what the landlord, so these were all fully maintained properties. So we'd get them off the landlord, the ex-student properties, most of them, the landlord would take care of the maintenance. Well, a leak would happen. The tenant would then call us. We'd call the agent who would then contact the landlord. The landlord never came around to fix the leak. So then we'd have to sort the leak, try and charge it back to the landlord. The landlord says he's not doing that. It gets very political and you find yourself down a rabbit hole, which is then taking me away from my predominant income that used to be deal sourcing, which was find the deal, sell the deal, charge a fee. That seemed a lot more attractive once I actually started to become a landlord.
Yeah, you said you'd like people earlier on. I'm not sure I'd like people if I had that going on.
Tenants, yeah, they're a different beast.
Yeah, one time we turned up at a house that we had let, and there was 5 cats in a room locked.
Oh, we've had snakes and lizards and all sorts.
And there was a big man in one of the rooms. Turned out he actually was a friend of mine, completely unrelated to the situation. Who had nothing to do with the fact. He's like, "How are you here?" It's like, "Why are you here?" Like, what is going on? Like, there's an estate agent with us. It was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So fine. We were doing 150. We had generated 150 grand and potentially 20 grand a month ish from this. And then you thought, I'm going to show people how to get into the madness.
Yeah. So this was before. So this, while we're building our portfolio, there's a time where you're really excited for this.
Mm-hmm.
You're passionate about it. And if you're anything like me, if I'm passionate about something, I'm telling everybody. Barbecues down the pub, down the gym. I'm telling everybody about this. So we're building. See, because it wasn't for me, doesn't mean it's not for somebody else. Somebody might be in a job that they really, really hate, but would love to be a landlord chasing the tail all day. That to me wasn't fun. It took the enjoyment about it.
But it's like Evan, you reached another level and then you thought, well, actually, like everything else, as soon as you find the next door, you're like, actually, that seemed a good idea then, but now I've got to here. This doesn't sound like a good idea.
With my mindset, it's exactly that. With my mindset, I'm always evolving, which is why I got into crypto, which I'll move on to in a second. So we're landlords, pulling our hair out. We're pulling our ear out. I'm trying to be posh because I'm from Nottingham. I'm pulling my hair out. I'm pulling my ear out. So this is not fun anymore. So we started the training company. We're training people how to get into deal sourcing, rent to rent.
So walk me through that, right? Because everyone's seen some property douche doing this. Get to the back of the room, £1 course, then 2,997 today, one time offer. Come to my 2-day workshop. You think I'm going to start a training business in property? Walk me through what you did, set up, like landing pages, websites, event. How did that go? What did you do?
So we went to quite a few property events and we seen that there were like sausage factories, churning them in, churning them out.
Which ones did you go to?
I'm not going to name names.
I've been to some.
Hey?
I've been to many.
I've been to many as well. It's not fair to name.
Yeah, I'm messing up.
Yeah, but because of the person that I'd become and because of I was teaching family and friends to do this at the same time, and they were like, wow, this is brilliant. One of my friends, his name's Israel actually, he said, Si, you need to start a mentorship. And at the time, there weren't that many around in 2019, 2020, when we started. So I decided to just start doing Facebook content, letting people know that what we were doing, sharing the journey, and then saying that we're actually taking people on to train them to do what we're doing, deal sourcing, rent to rent. And then, yeah, but basically back in them days, people used to flock to you doing Facebook Live, stuff like that. Wow, teach me how to do it. So it went better than I thought it would.
What do you think was the secret to the success initially that just like you say did better than what you expected?
I think people like the fact that they have a one-to-one mentor, whereas these property courses and stuff, there's 1,000 people in a room, there's just flipping heaving. You can't get a piece of that mentor. So what we were offering was one-to-one mentoring, where we'd sit with the people. At first, before lockdown, it was in person. We used to meet in like a cafe or in people's homes or wherever they wanted to meet. But then in lockdown, it became on Zoom. Everything's gone online and never really gone back since.
So it's quite organic.
Quite organic. Quite organic, yeah. That's why I'm trying to do the events more now with the crypto mentorship, because it's just lost that. Want to get off Zoom, want to get in front of people.
How do you think the client acquisition cost/journey is different now? That one, the market is much more saturated, and two, COVID's not there, so people have got less time, and the trust in that place is different. When you do organic content, there's such an authenticity to it because it is organic. That's exactly what organic content means. But when you start running paid traffic and funnels and come to a live event, how are you seeing that's different in how your brand and offer is perceived, and that's going?
Well, since lockdown, so we never did massive events. We used to get events and get the community around and just have a day of just teaching, getting to more networking than anything. Everybody sees each other on Zooms, but they just want to meet in the room, etc. And just talk to people, eat with one another, break bread together. It's just a very saturated market these days. Since lockdown, there's been an influx of coaches and mentors that have thought, wow, I'm just going to start teaching stuff. We've had mentees that had one deal. and they just become mentors. We had mentees that didn't even have a deal that become mentors. And then all of a sudden they're our competitors. But the problem is when you come to the market and you're a newbie, newbies don't know that that person hasn't got the track record.
Yeah.
So they can't decipher the difference between us and them. So anyway, I'm in this market. Property's quite difficult. It's earning the money, but money's not everything. I'm trading in the background. Have done since 2017-ish on the hospital
so
bed.
when you say trading, people are thinking of acts from Billions, Bloomberg terminals,
I wish.
and that kind of thing. That's what they're thinking. Like place a units trade. That's what they're thinking when they're trading. What do you mean by trading?
So I got into foreign exchange to begin with. I got into a scam that basically says if you invest at least 10K into this bot where you put money into this broker, the bot will trade. It will buy and sell gold and foreign exchange currencies. So the pound against the dollar or the US dollar against the Australian dollar, etc. It's like a seesaw effect. If one's worth more than the other, you make or break money, etc. If you recommend this to 4 friends, you get your membership free. You won't have to pay a subscription, which was £50 a month at the time. Got into that, got scammed. Thought this is dodgy as this space. This proves that it's dodgy anyway. Started to get into cryptocurrency because Bitcoin started to become a little bit of a thing. More so in lockdown.
What was Bitcoin worth the day you first placed a Bitcoin trade?
I think it was 8K.
So fuck all. Well, I mean, I don't want to tell the story about Bitcoin because I
think it was 8K, yeah.
I remember a day where Bitcoin was worth not a lot and I then didn't, so I sold it. And again, that makes me very sad.
I wish I would have bought. I wish I would have remortgaged my house and just bought lots and just if I would have just bought Bitcoin in 2017 and put 100 grand on it and just left it. My word.
I had enough Bitcoin at one point for a price that would make you feel sick in the face.
Go on.
I know, it's like, yeah, I'll be worth billions. I sold it for like £1,750.
This is turning into a counselling session now. Let it out. Come on, Ben.
But like all things, I've been early. I was early to coaching in the UK because everyone thought it was a fitness coach before coaching was a thing, like Tony Robbins kind of like no one knew about that in the UK when I got into it. And I was late to other things, early to other things, in and out fast before it ended up. I'm like, oh, this one, I'm like, this is the right time. Podcasting, branding, AI, got a technology, got it all. I'm like, super anxious. I'm like, something's going to happen bad, but I've got all the pieces in the right time. But I can relate to, pumping in and losing lots of money, missing the time in, wish I'd done that, wish I'd not done this, etc. But back to you. So you started educating people, then you were trading in the background, crypto, because of the Forex scam.
Yeah, it put me off it.
I
thought with crypto, at least with crypto, I can join an exchange such as Coinbase, Binance, or Bybit, or Mexi, or Kraken. There's loads of them. I can join them. I'm in charge of my money. I don't need to upload my money to a broker, say, and then they trade for me. I wanted to actually learn how to put my money in, take control of my own wallet, place the trade, which means I buy an asset low and I sell it high.
So
flipping a
let's walk through this for people because I always think it goes straight over people's heads. So foreign exchange is when you go into Asda because you're going to Marbella and you got pounds in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, no one carries in cash, but if you had pounds in your pocket, you're like, went up to a nice lady and said, "Can I change these £200 in £20 notes?" And she gave you euros. It's terrible English. Gives you euros. The difference between the price between one and the other, you either pay for it, obviously they charge you a fee. That is foreign exchange, right? And that's happening on a massive scale. And you don't need to actually put your money in. You can basically like make almost like a phantom trade, right? You can phantomly give them the £200 to change it. And you say, if this goes up, I'll make money. If it goes down, I'll lose money. Mm-hmm. Essentially, that's what you kind of do in foreign exchange. When people say trading on their phone or computer, they're not going into Thomas Cook and saying, "Can I change that over?"
Very good.
They're emulating the process of it. And there's lots of pending orders. And there's retail trading, which is what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And banks, massive global institutions, private equity. There's all these different orders, all these different prices. They're saying, we're going to transfer and make an exchange of £2 billion to euros, but only when the price is a certain price.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is what happens. There's pending orders all over the marketplace. The market has to come up and down. Different people will argue the toss about what drives the market up and down. As I'm sure you've got your own thesis also. But essentially, that's what you were doing. Crypto is different.
Much more prefer crypto. So when I was doing Forex, I was going through a bot wasn't really manual trading. So that was the early days. When I got into crypto, I started to then learn the fundamentals of what it means to actually trade myself and really start to learn it. I've read books about support and resistance and Fibonacci's and all different types of levels. Really started to put it into action. So the way crypto works is you will buy an asset such as Bitcoin.
When you say asset, we're like, people say assets.
A digital asset.
They know a house is an asset.
It's a digital asset.
So
So a house is a physical asset.
So you go buy a house down the road, you put £20,000 down as a deposit and a bank lends you the rest on a mortgage. Now you own the house but mortgaged. When you buy a Bitcoin, do you mortgage the Bitcoin or do you buy the asset? How does that work?
You buy the asset. So say if Bitcoin's worth, so at the moment it's worth $110,000.
I know, I felt physically sick when I saw it the other day. I thought, for fuck's sake, I exited that long time.
Exactly. Beautiful. So let's imagine Bitcoin is 100K.
How many Bitcoins do you have?
I'm not going to disclose that.
He's got Bitcoins, isn't he? He's got Bitcoins. At least if he has one Bitcoin, he's already
They'll be
worth
waiting for me outside if you answered that question. Net worth's a very strange question because, you could put a mark on your head. But yeah, I've got quite a few in spot. So I futures trade and spot trade, which I'll move on to. That is in a second.
Mm-hmm.
So a Bitcoin, you can buy a fraction of a Bitcoin. So you've got Bitcoin, you've got, there are thousands of different cryptos.
So instead of me buying a Bitcoin for $112,000, did you say?
Yeah, 110.
$110,000. I could buy part of a Bitcoin.
Yes.
So for people who have some form of an idea, the S&P 500 is a share of the top 500 companies in America.
Yes, that's the stock exchange.
Stock exchange. And people would know that if they have a St. James's Place investment account, St. James's Place and others are available, would put parts of stocks into a fund, then you buy that because you can't take risk profile. You can't buy a piece of NVIDIA unless you have an enormous amount of money, decent, because the NVIDIA stock, one piece of NVIDIA stock is worth too much for you to take to be potentially risked for your portfolio. So you can take a fraction of a Bitcoin and own it yourself, and they give you a little digital kind of version of a little bit of Bitcoin. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Cool. So you own the little piece of Bitcoin.
Best thing to do when you do own any kind of crypto is to take it from the centralized exchange and put it into your hardware wallet.
What is a centralized exchange?
Centralized exchange is something like Coinbase, a platform like Coinbase or Binance or Bybit.
So would you say Coinbase is like Barclays on the street, where you go to Coinbase and say, can I have some of those Bitcoins? They give you a little fraction of it. So they don't give you the big bar of gold. They take a little bit of the gold off, pass you it,
Yes.
and you then put that in your physical wallet, but it's digital currency, but you can still put digital currency in your physical wallet.
Yes.
Cool.
That's it. So the reason why you want to get it off the centralized exchanges over to a hardware wallet is because when it's on the centralized exchanges, you don't own it.
What's MetaMask?
MetaMask is it's a hot wallet. So it's an online wallet, but it's off of the centralized exchange.
And then that's where you can take it.
Still a little bit dangerous though.
Yeah.
Because it still can be hacked. Until it goes onto your hardware wallet, which is your cold wallet, where you're in control of it, it's still classed as a hot wallet because it's online. It means people can infiltrate and pinch your wallet.
So can you take digital Bitcoin, it's fraction Bitcoin, put it in your whatever wallet, buy it from Coinbase, go to the market, can I have 10 bananas, but it's a bit of Bitcoin. You put the digital code in your wallet that's like a USB drive essentially.
That's it.
And is that the sort of thing that people lost in a landfill site they tried to find?
Yes.
So that's the thing.
He's never going to find that.
It's not true though, but still.
It's not true.
Everything on the blockchain is tracked.
Yes.
Where is the trail of the transfer? Is there one?
I've never looked into it. I just
when the FBI had that situation where the Bitcoin went missing, miraculously enough, untraceable, they managed to find them and get it back with the passwords to the wallet.
Really?
So you tell me how the FBI managed to achieve that if all of what they said is true.
Well, that's the beauty about blockchain because everything's transparent. You can see everything. If you've got a wallet address, you can trace it where it's gone from wallet address to wallet address.
But you love that with the authenticity vibes. You can see everything they say is true because it's got a little track of little. So explain to me what we're going right down the rabbit hole. So explain to me. We'll go back to Bitcoin in a second. Explain to me what the blockchain is then. Because it took me a lot of time to get my head around these ERC tokens in the blockchain and these things that you can see. Tell me what the blockchain is.
So the blockchain is it's a digital. If I'm honest, I can't explain it in the way that your listeners are going to understand. So you probably want to cut that bit out.
Yeah.
What I do is trade and invest. the science behind all the block trading, the blockchain stuff like that is basically where the ecosystem of crypto, the buying and selling, etc.
So you're talking about Bitcoin, going to Barclays, getting the pound, putting the pound in your wallet, and now it's physically like a pound coin in your wallet, but it's digital code of digital currency, essentially.
Yes.
And so then, like the foreign exchange, going to Asda and asking them to change your money, you then you own the asset to trade it, or can you trade it without owning it?
So if you buy Bitcoin from a centralized exchange, let's talk about Bitcoin because it's the most familiar.
Yeah.
You then own that Bitcoin. You then move it from the centralized exchange, like your Barclays. You move it over to your hardware wallet, to which you then own it. They say that if it's on the centralized exchanges, you don't own it. They own the keys to that. So they could go bust tomorrow and take your Bitcoin. So I would always say, although I've never had this, it's possible. Centralized. It's actually.
Is it like when the banks in 2008 could have crashed, you'd have lost your money?
Yes.
The same thing. They had your pounds or
it.
dollars, and the same as the crypto.
That's it. So that's why I say get it off the central exchange. If you're not trading it, if you're long-term investing it, put it into a hardware wallet, because then it's offline and it's yours. And then when you're ready to sell it, you then send it from your hardware wallet, plug it into your computer, over to the centralized exchange, from the centralized exchange over to your bank, and then it's yours.
And now does capital gains tax imply now?
Yes.
Has that always been the case?
Not always been the case, no.
When you first started trading, did capital gains tax exist in trading for cryptocurrency?
Well, it's always changing. Sometimes it's income tax, depending on whether you're staking it or depending on whether you're trading it, depending on whether you're long-term investing it. Capital gains has recently gone up from 14% to up to 24% now. So they are clicking onto it.
Sad.
Yeah, it is. But the good thing is, whether you earn $1 or £1, or whether you earn $1 million, it's a complete flat rate, which is nice. To a degree.
To a degree, yeah.
There's no higher, at the moment in 2025.
Currently, yeah. Okay, so tell me then, so we've obviously gone down the rabbit hole there.
We've gone down a big rabbit hole.
But Bitcoin, so you take it off this exchange, you put it in your wallet, fantastic. So, but tell me what you do with trading. So you told me you're in property, it was rubbish in the sense of how it was in terms of the time, tenants, etc. at the time. And so you're trading crypto. So you were buying Bitcoin and then selling Bitcoin.
Yes.
Were you also selling Bitcoin that you didn't have? Because I struggled when I first tried to understand this many years ago. How can you sell something you don't have?
Well, as Gary Vee said with the NFTs, not to go off on a tangent, but everything's going digital. So if you went down the pub and you says, I've got a picture on my mantelpiece, or I've got a picture on a non-fungible token, NFT, you'd be able to whip the NFT out, the digital version of that picture on your phone and show somebody. He's saying that we're getting to an age now where people will far more believe that you own that particular asset or whatever it looks like digitally than if you say that it's on your physical mantelpiece at home. So you do own it, but you own it digitally in your wallet on the blockchain.
So this would be like if I was wearing these shoes and I said, no, these are genuine Balenciagas, I could show you my wallet which says, this is the certificate that Balenciaga gave me in NFT form to say, these are real Balenciagas.
That's where we're going with everything.
So it's like a receipt.
Yes.
But like a genuine proof of receipt.
Yes. So you do own it. You do own that digital asset the same way as you log on to your online banking and the money's there. Although that's another subject of, the bank. Do they actually occupy your money or are they actually investing in the markets themselves?
Well, they definitely invested in the markets. We're allowed to lend it 9 times over, is it?
If we all went to the bank today and said, right, we all want our money back.
I hope I'm first in the queue because they won't be able to do it.
They wouldn't be able to do it.
It's not, I think they're allowed to lend 9 times over, is it?
That's it.
Yeah, fucking hell.
It's madness.
You wonder who made that scheme. Fraud. Yeah. Anyway.
Crazy.
Yeah,
yes.
Tell me.
So we get a digital asset. Doesn't have to be Bitcoin. Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, these are just to name a few. So you've got Bitcoin and then you've got the other coins. The other coins are known as altcoins, which stand for alternative coins.
It's like the one where someone tweeted about some bullshit and it went off into the moon, an altcoin.
Well, yeah, there are thousands of altcoins. So what we do, we buy the asset, whether we're long-term holding it, so there's 4 different types of trading that you can do, the investment. So you've got scalp trading, which is fast and aggressive, which could be 5 to 10 times a day where you're buying and selling. You've got day trading, which might be 1 or 2 trades a day where you're in and out in the same day. You've got swing trading, which you're and I'll explain what trading is in a second, where you can be in and out of the trade within a week or a month. It's more long-term. And then you've got spot hold, which means you're hodling, holding on for dear life. So you're holding on to that asset. That is when, so spot trading would be when you take it off of the exchange and put it into your hard wallet. So you'd be in for the long run. So you spot, it can be a day, it can be 10 years.
So this
Everybody's plan's different.
This would be more like what Warren Buffett talked about. If you fundamentally believe that that has a value that is going to increase over time,
Yes.
you're going to hold on to it because your thesis is that I still believe that asset, for example, digital currency, is going up in value
Will rise
over time.
It's all speculation, but if you believe in it, then you believe in it. It's the
With
same
scalp
thing as
trading, when you sell or buy scalp
right.
trading,
Let me dissect that.
tell me.
So you've got the long-term holding. Then you've got, what we do is we futures trade as well.
What's that mean?
Futures trading is where we buy a contract in the speculation that it will rise in value or fall in value.
Let's go back. Where I buy a contract
Yes,
based on whether I believe in the future it'll be worth something or not. So put that into a real life example.
there you go. So there's Bitcoin futures, there's altcoin futures. It's leverage trading.
Is there anything?
Basically means
is there anything where, like, is in a banana at the marketplace? You say, I'm going to sell some bananas, and next week they'll be worth more. I can get a contract to say they'll be worth more.
yes.
Tell me. What's the
So
example?
so basically, when I say buying a contract, so we can so there's buying the asset, which you own the digital asset, which you're on a centralized exchange, and you can take that off and put it onto a hardware cold wallet. So that's yours.
Mhm.
Then you've got your day trading. You can still day trade and own the asset. You can still do that. So you can buy the asset, it will then rise in value,
Yep.
and then you can sell it. Then you can leverage trade, which is what we do as well, which is futures trading or derivatives, which is basically a contract. You don't own the asset, but you own a digital receipt, a contract. So one contract will be, say, $1 of Bitcoin, or one Satoshi, one sat. You will own a part of that Bitcoin, or a one Bitcoin. It can be anything. You don't own the asset, but you own the contract. And basically,
Is that cheaper to buy?
well, the thing is, with leverage trading, you could get into crypto if you knew what you were doing, and you could have a 10K pot. And with the derivatives trading, the futures trading, you could buy a whole Bitcoin, because you could use the platform's money to bulk up what you've got, widen your position, which means that, you know, for instance, if you were on a 10x trade and you bought $1,000 worth of your own money, and you were on a 10x trade, that would mean that you borrow £9,000 of the exchange's money and £1,000 of yours. So you're able to bulk up your trade.
And this is what they mean by leverage. So in
Yeah.
Forex, people would say 1 to 500 or 1 to 50 is often the regulatory things. People would have gone on a Forex exchange and be like 1 to 500 or 1 to 50 with a common 1 to 50 on the ratio 1 to 500, which means the buying power means you take your 1,000,
Yes.
you've now got 9,000 of their money, so now 10,000.
You've got 10,000, yes.
So you're saying leveraging, you can say, I've got £1, but because I've got £1, they give me 9 more.
That's it.
Why would everybody not do this? Because there sounds like there's a pro, which means I'm sure there's going to be a con.
There is a liquidation point, which means that if it goes up, you are winning, you are profiting 10 times more than you would if you just used your own $1,000.
And if it goes down,
But if it goes down, that then comes out of your wallet, and you've got a liquidation number. Basically, it will take it out of your wallet if it goes the wrong way. Now, 90% of traders don't know how to trade because they don't know how to plot the market, read the market, use the tools, etc. Because the biggest secret to trading is knowing exactly where to buy, knowing exactly where to sell.
and do you know how to do that?
Yes, and that's what we teach our mentees.
Is there anyone that ever know how to time the market?
Well,
You'd
your-
like a guess?
your success rate and your track record will prove that. In the beginning, no.
Yeah.
Flat on my face, made a lot of losses.
And just
Never thought I would get to this stage, if I'm honest. Never
Yeah.
thought a bloke like me would ever, from a council estate, engineering background, would ever be able to read a financial market, place trades, sell trades, make money. I
The-
thought it was for other clever people.
the thing you described about liquidation point is
Yes.
the film that people would know as Margin Call.
Yeah.
In the
I've never seen it, but that's
Well,
what it is, a margin call.
from 2008 when the banks were being called like into margin call from bigger banks that they had
Yeah.
loans to, because they were like over leveraged is what that meant.
Most people will try and get into leverage trading and fail because they obviously,
But like walk into a casino and having £100, let's say realistically, you're in London, Leicester Square, £100, walk into Hippodrome, and they say, would you like to just use your £100 and win barely anything?
Human nature wants more.
Or would you like us to give you £900, but if you lose the money on the way, we're going to bill you 10 times it on the way out?
Yes.
But you have to have that money in your wallet, and as soon as you start losing, we're going to take it, and if you don't have more in, you're fucked. We're going to take it all.
Yeah.
But you could win loads. That's basically what it is. So it's not gambling, though?
It's gambling, yes. If you don't know what you're doing and you're putting your hard-earned money into an asset and you really don't know whether it's going to go up or down, it then becomes 50-50. Now, for instance, if we're buying a confluence of support, for instance. So longing means when you're making money as the price rises, and shorting means when you make money as the price falls.
So the red button and the blue button, if people have seen that on their screens, buy, red, long, go long on a position. Blue, sell, down, going down.
Well, on the ones that we use, it's green long, red short.
Got you.
So whether we're in a recession or economic breakdown, it doesn't really matter because we're going to make money whether the price rises or falls. This is why we trade ranges, consolidation. So 20% of the time, the market will trend up or down, and 80% of the time, the market will range sideways,
and is this
consolidate.
People see all the bars and charts like on a Bloomberg terminal.
Yes.
But what leverage does, would be pushing those bars almost kind of closer together, so then the volatility appears to be more, because obviously the pound versus the dollar, just using an example people understand, the pound has not changed from 124 to 1 very much. So then when you leverage it, those little oscillating bars essentially become actually much bigger, so you can trade in those bigger ranges.
Well, it's all to do with the liquidity pool, how much liquidity is in a particular asset. So for instance, if you are leverage trading, you've only got £1,000, but you're borrowing a large amount off of the exchange as well. When you place that trade, you're buying that asset. It's going to cause a
movement.
Yeah,
so essentially with the Forex market, which obviously is similar with the crypto market, when people place trades, long or short, activity happens. And activity is liquidity.
Yes,
essentially.
We want volatility in the market. So we're not really bothered whether the Bitcoin's at 100K or 1K, because what we're trading on a daily basis is the price action.
And price action means the change between the prices.
The change, the price is moving up and down quite rapidly. We want that. We encourage that. We love news days, because what we'll have strategic support zones, liquidity areas where everybody's stop losses are, for instance, and we will buy so basically the market is run by the market maker, the institutions, the big boys. They move the market and provide liquidity in the market. We trade it. But what they do, because 90% of the people in the world probably don't know how to trade and 10% do, they drive the price to where everybody's stop losses are or liquidation points. How can we tell that? Well, most retailers like us will long a coin at support, let the price rise, and then what they'll do is they'll move their stop loss to just below where that bottom of the candle is, where the wick is. Now that, if a lot of people are doing that, which most people do, it means that if the price comes back down, they're going to break even on their trade. One of the biggest struggles as human psychology is we don't like to take profit because we're greedy. So you'll be surprised that 80-90% of people don't take profit. So what the market maker, he knows this with the software that he uses, because he can spot, here's a little caveat, here's a little secret, that most of the market makers and the people that manipulate the market are the actual exchanges themselves.
Yes, they know exactly where all
the so what happens is they'll bring the market down.
Just to your take profit or stop loss.
Your stop loss.
And then go back the other way.
The reason why they do that is because they want to fill their big bags. Their massive trade sizes. They cannot fill that in no man's land, which is the middle of the range. Why? Because there has to be sellers in order for them to buy. This is the whole point of liquidity sweeps and swing failure patterns. So they need to bring the market down to a price point where they can identify where the stop losses are or the liquidations. So they do that, and they've got limit orders sitting there as well.
Limit order is what I referred to earlier when I said
all
those banks have got this money. They're saying, we'll only trade at 20 billion if it comes to this price.
Yes.
And the market maker goes, how do I get to that price so I can make you make the transaction?
100%. What they can do.
And you're like.
Exactly. So limit orders are known as passive orders. and market orders are known as aggressive orders. So what they'll do is they will market sell. So say there's a liquidity zone at the bottom of support, and you can see loads of wicks. You see loads of wicks where it's come down. We're consolidating sideways like that. 80% of the time the market does that. They'll bring it down to these lows, these significant lows, because they know that's where everybody's stop losses are. So they'll bring it down to this point, stop everybody out, liquidate everybody, and they'll have passive orders down there, limit orders, auto buy-ins. The reason why they'll be able to fill their bags, because if you try and place a limit order of, say, I don't know, let's call it 100 million. Or
I've never tried to place trades that big.
Market makers will. That's the thing. They won't be able to fill it. In order for them to buy, there needs to be a seller.
So what you're saying is they don't have enough pounds to give the American dollar, so they need people to sell the pounds they have so they can give the pounds to their order to fill that order.
You keep talking about Forex. I'm going to keep it crypto because
I know,
I have not traded Forex in years.
No,
so.
I suppose I'm trying to make it. So what you're saying is they need people selling their Bitcoins
Let's
be
call
given
it an asset. They need people to sell an asset in order for them to be able to buy because that's how it works. So where would be the perfect place where there would be plenty of sellers? Well, a stop loss and a liquidation is also known as a market sell order. So when they bring it down and hit this particular stop loss or liquidation,
they collect them all.
You are then obliged to sell that asset at that particular price, which then provides liquidity supply to the market, which then allows to fill the demand of the market makers to drive the price back up and fill their passive orders.
But in crypto then, let me ask you this question. In crypto, because in Forex, the actual brokerages that are placing all these trades aren't actually placing anything. It's all paper. And at the end of the day / at the end of the week, they tally up all the things they did and then place it after the fact. Is that the same in crypto?
What do you mean by that?
As in, you can go on a brokerage. I won't name any because I'm going to get sued. They don't actually place the trade on the live market live. When you hit your trade button, they don't actually do that on the market on Forex. They make a record of it and they total up the 20 million records they had that day. And then that all gets placed in one go, essentially, later on actually the market.
Is that an option? Are they options?
No, it's called, they place actually, the brokerage is actually anti-trade. So when retail traders, what they do is they actually physically trade the opposite of what traders do because they mostly lose money, as you said. So they actually place trades the opposite way round. So I actually know people at major brokerages who told me point blank, don't do this particular thing in this way, because obviously the size of money we're talking about. They're like, because what we're actually doing is this. Because most traders in retail lose money. So we actually place the opposite trade. So if they put a buy, we sell afterwards. So it's all a big air. It's all air. They don't actually place any trades.
Got you. Well, crypto, as far as I'm aware, institutions are buying and selling all the time. So if they bring it down to a certain price point, whether it be resistance or support, liquidity either way, at the top of the range or the bottom of the range, they will be buying those particular assets in the futures market. And obviously,
so you'd be able to look on the blockchain and see there was all that different activity.
Well, we use order flow software and we're able to look into each candle with X-ray vision. So what we're able to do, we're able to monitor buyers and sellers at particular points. We're also able to have a look. We use something called CVD. And we're able to look at hidden divergences. So we're able to tell whether there's a limit order that's keeping the price up. So for instance, and this is the way that we're able to trade with the big boys. What we're able to do is as the price comes down into a particular level and it looks as though it's going to break out. So on the candle, it'll actually show lots of sell orders opening up, trying to short through support. So when it breaks down, they'll get in the short. What we're able to tell from the CVD indicator is that will tell us you'll see all of the shorts opening up. So there'll be a decrease in the CVD and we'll see the price rising. And what that will indicate, it's called a bullish divergence, that is, it will indicate that the retailers are trying to go short, but the whales and the big boys are keeping the price up. And basically what they do is called absorption. They absorb all of the sell orders. So your enter liquidity, your exit liquidity, your shorting is feeding their enter liquidity. And that's what it's doing. They're always looking for retail liquidity to feed their trades, basically. So we're able to actually look with X-ray vision into the actual candles and see where all the buyers and sellers are. There's also something called imbalances on that as well, where we can see how many buyers and sellers are happening at a particular time. and it shows up on the charts.
So if people have seen the BBC show Industry, they think talking about there's a big bank doing trades. When they're sort of hustling on the phone, placing these massive trades, they're trying to fill all these orders. And essentially, you're talking about crypto, but the market's essentially working the same way. They're doing all that stuff on the phone. Like, it sounds like they're doing stuff to manipulate / move things due to certain orders they got for certain clients and certain things.
They probably are, yeah. But we're okay with that because we can see what they're doing. We can see that retailers are shorting into a level. The price is still being kept up. We can see that absorption is happening. We can see that the big boys are keeping the price up. But when you're on a certain piece of software, all you can see is red and green candles. On our software, we can see the footprint charts, which is actually telling us what's actually happening within each candle. Basically, what we're doing is we're monitoring volume. We're monitoring volume. And then we break down that volume into delta. So we can see whether something's positive or negative delta. And we're able to see how many sellers, how many buyers at a particular point. Most traders lose money when they trade the breakouts.
Say more.
So what you'll see is, as it's approaching a support or resistance level, you'll get a candle that pokes through the top of a range, for instance. And you'll think, boom, this is a breakout. So you'll try and trade that. You'll go long. So say you're approaching resistance at the top of the range. If you're a trader, you will know what I'm talking about. You'll try to go long. You're thinking, boom, we're breaking out here. Then what will happen is it will then sink back into the range and you'll be trapped. Within that's called a bull trap, also known as a fake out. And that happens a lot. Traders try to trade. Reason being is they try to follow and trade the green candles. They see green. This is why people don't take profit. They make the colors on purpose red and green. Red means danger. Green means money. It means greed. So when they see a green candle pop over,
they open their trade.
Yeah, they jump in. But what you're doing is you're feeding the market maker. Your enter liquidity is they're shorting their sell orders. They're feeding their sell orders to then go short. The same way that it comes down into a support level and you think it's going to break through, you then short the market. You're feeding them. Most breakouts in trading are fake outs. It fails to auction above or below a level and then fall straight back in. And that's where people lose a lot of money. But because we're able to see deep into the actual candles with X-ray vision using the order flow software, we're able to see what the price action's actually doing at that particular time. But that's when we get onto the more advanced stuff. You don't just chuck our mentees into this straight away. We show them the fundamentals of what it all means first, and then you progress to this level. But that's why a lot of people lose, because they don't know how to read the market. There's more to it than just looking at the green and red candles.
Did you ever think 29-year-old Simon Taylor would be sat here 10 years, 11 years from then?
No.
Talking how you just talked about the financial markets?
No, I didn't. No. And that is why, to be fair, I'm not that interested in the intricacies of how the blockchain works and all this type of stuff. It's very important, but I'm one of these. If I focus on something, I'm all in. And all I'm bothered about is investing and trading in the market. How can I buy an asset low and sell it high? Or how can I buy it high and sell it low if I'm shorting? Property was hard. I then made the transition from property into crypto because I looked at the fact I could sit in my underpants, in my office, trade the markets from a computer, no tenants, no solicitors, no landlords, no vendors, no agents, nobody giving me a headache. The only person that I could blame if anything goes wrong is me. So then I transitioned from property into crypto. And of course, as soon as I started to get results and got a few people and a few friends in a little circle and a mastermind, I thought, there's a training business here. I can actually help people, because I'm a massive believer. You need two vehicles. Any person in business needs two vehicles, a cash flowing vehicle and a capital appreciation vehicle. So the training business feeds my capital appreciation business. So I'm able to use the liquid capital from the cash flowing business into my Bitcoin holds or my altcoin holds, basically my long-term investments, my spot holds. So I'm able to keep earning money from that to pour into that. So you should always have a cash flowing business at the side of your investment business, whether it be property. They always say that with property, have a high cash flowing business with property alongside it so you can keep buying properties, because inflation is a massive problem. inflation, currency around the world, dollar, pound, wherever it is, euro, it's losing its value by the day. The government are telling us that it's 5 to 7% inflation. It's more like 15 minimum percent that we're losing on our currencies per year. Why? Because they keep printing money. They keep printing money. And as you do that, you dilute the currency because the government are in debt. They're trying to combat what's going on, the mess in the world. They're recovering from lockdown. Quantitative easing is, that's where the government print money. They don't actually do that. The bank do. The bank buy bonds from the government and then the print money for the government, etc. Yeah, it's just crazy the way it is. I'm not going to go off on a tangent with that. But the way that we beat inflation is to invest into assets. Now, Bitcoin, as you know, is multiplied thousands of percent over the years. Property is going to double on average every 10 years, which means it's 10% a year. Are you beating inflation with property at 10% a year? No, because 15% is inflation. Gold, they say that that's 10% a year. It's still a good commodity to invest in, but it's only 10% a year. So the only asset that I can see, digital asset, or any kind of asset that can beat inflation at this moment in time is Bitcoin and the other altcoins, but you've got to invest into good projects. So for me, because I can see before my very eyes inflation getting worse, inflation means that as the currency is falling, you've seen the price of goods rising. So you're going shopping now and it's no longer 100 quid to fill your basket, it's 200 quid. You go and buy a car, you see a car that used to be 15, you used to be able to buy a Vauxhall Astra for 15 grand maybe, and now you're looking it's 30 grand. I saw a transit van for 22 grand 10 years ago, and now it's worth close to 40 to 50 grand. It's not that these things are rising in price, it's the fact that your money is now worth less. So your money is depleting. And everything, trading, inflation, it's like a seesaw. If one weakens, the other one rises. The reason why we invest in assets such as Bitcoin is because the currency, everything's traded. Most things in the world is traded against the US dollar. So as the US dollar is weakening, it's like a seesaw. Assets, gold, property, Bitcoin is rising. It's like a seesaw. So it's not really like your property price has gone up over the years. It's the fact that currency is weakening. I could go off on one, but I will say, why is that? Because they've took currency off of the gold standard. In 1931, they took the pound off of the gold standard. In 1971, they took the dollar off of the gold standard, which means for every $1, say, I think it was an ounce of gold. For every $1 was worth an ounce of gold. And it was backed up by the bank. The paper money that we see today is fake money. Paper money was only ever made as an IOU. But as soon as they depegged it from the backed gold that was in the banks, they've been printing ever since, and it's not worth anything anymore. They're not measuring it against anything. So what inflation basically means, because nobody can ever give you a simple answer, is your money is devaluing by the day, which means that in 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time, it's going to be 400 quid a week in getting your shopping done. And we are heading into the Great Reset, as they say, in the next probably 5 years, 2025 to 2030. The World Economic Forum have said that we're probably going to end up in a Great Reset, which means that, I think currency is going to go to zero. And I think they're going to bring a CBDC in, which is central bank digital currency, which basically means this is going to be something that's probably going to get the government out of debt. The government are trillions of pounds and dollars, whether it be UK or the US, in debt. They have no intention of paying it off. Quantitative easing is through the roof. They're printing money like crazy. Inflation's through the roof. How did they solve this? A Great Reset. Great Reset means probably, this is all speculation, but this is what I believe. Currency will go to zero. All people's debts will be wiped and they'll just do a general reset. And not only will we be on CBDC, central banking digital currencies, but there'll be more control from the governments as well and the elites, which is why I say get as much of your cash flow as you can into assets. I believe that Bitcoin is the financial Noah's Ark.
And that's why I say get it off the exchange.
Get it off the exchange, get it into your wallet. The reason being, there is a finite supply of Bitcoin, which is 21 billion. 21 billion of Bitcoin, that's it. They cannot print any more, which is why all the institutions such as BlackRock, Michael Saylor, they're all purchasing by the billions more Bitcoin because they know that it's the financial Noah's Ark. So when the flood comes and everything goes to zero, all the currencies, what's going to happen to Bitcoin when currencies go to zero? The seesaw effect. Bitcoin is going to rise, which is why I can see 500 grand Bitcoin, £1 million Bitcoin. Not because, say, like the property price, not necessarily because everybody's going to buy Bitcoin. It's because as it's devalued against currency, it's naturally going to go up. And the more that people purchase, the more demand there is for that particular asset. So inflation to me is the fact that they keep printing money. They then release that money into the economy. Because they're releasing more money than there are actual goods and services into the economy, the demand's too much. The demand is too much and it's driving the price up of everything. And if you think it's going to get better, you're wrong. It's not going to get better. They're going to keep printing money. They're going to keep getting in more deep debt. This is the government. But hey, everybody's like, don't worry about it. The government will look after us. We trust the government. The government are more clueless than, in my honest opinion, than what we give them credit for. So I would say be wise, invest into any asset that you can, whether it be property, gold, especially Bitcoin, because it's my passion, and you will protect yourself. You will hedge against the destruction that's happening to our currency around the world. It's crazy. I know you're into it as well because you're smiling at me. It's madness out there. So we've got to be investing into assets. So that's why I'm investing and I'm trading. I love trading because I can be in and out the market like a fiddler's elbow, make my money for the day. I have a minimum target of 500 quid a day, sometimes £1,000. That's my minimum target. I can go to the computer, whip that up by my mobile phone on my computer, and then go about my day, which is a lot different to 8-10 hour days of what I used to do with this, or all the work I used to do with property as well. It's just a lot easier. Is everybody cut out for trading? I don't think so. But those that have got a bit of an entrepreneurial flair and like to make quick, easy money, I would say if you can control your emotions, it's a good trade to be in. Excuse my pun.
Whereabouts can they find you if they want to find you?
Instagram, Facebook. My link tree is linktree/Mr.Simon.Taylor. My Instagram is Mr.Simon.Taylor. Send me a DM, reach out. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, mate. I appreciate it. It's a very passionate speech.
I just went off on one. I thought people need to hear it, don't they?
Yeah.